Then we'll go into the next set of things. So we were doing two set of things, right? So I said organizations, when they plan their HRP processes, there are two types of planning. One is aggregate planning, which is bulk hiring, which we usually do at the operational level of the management, third level of management, where we need operational kind of jobs, entry level jobs, bulk hiring. And then we do succession planning for middle management and middle of the top management. And then finally at the strategic management. So where key positions, key individuals are going to be filled up. We do that through a process or a strategy called succession planning. And aggregate planning is what we do at the bottom of the organizational structure. The two types of planning, right? So we looked into all of this. So now we'll come to this model. So how does the HRP process begin? So the HRP process begins by with the first process, which is called environmental scanning. All right, environmental scanning is studying the business environment, doing a research or an analysis of the business environment to study the external environment. So what are the forces in the external environment that we have to study? What are the forces? What are the different forces that you study in the external environment? Yashaswini, what are the different forces that we study in the external environment? Evangeline, Cynthia, what are the different forces that we study in the external environment?
Yes, sir. To study external environment, I think we can have research.
Correct. We are going to be. No, I'm asking you the variables. So what are the different dimensions or variables that we study in the external environment?
So like competitive environment.
Yeah, what are the variables in the competitive environment? Rani Bridget?
The political factors.
Correct. Political
factors, socio-cultural.
Very good. Demographic factors, socio-cultural factors. What else?
Technological changes.
Technological factors. Okay. So in short, we call this as the PESTEL analysis. So please remember the term PESTEL. Political, economic, socio-cultural, technological, ecological, environmental, and legal factors. So we study as an organization, every organization will have to assess and scan the business environment to look for opportunities and threats. And then you study the internal environment. What is there in your organization? What are the capabilities, capacities, what kind of products and services, who are the kind of people that you have, what is your policy, what is your strategy, what is your organization culture. So you study everything about your organization, which is what we do with the SWOT analysis. So you identify strength and weakness in the internal environment, and you recognize or identify opportunities and threats in the external environment. So both put together is called environmental scanning. Only when we do the SWOT analysis of the business environment will your organization understand what are the strengths that your organization possesses. When you have strengths, those automatically become your competitive advantages. Those are the strengths, or those are the capabilities or capacities that you are going to go with when you go and compete with other firms. Like for example, if your strength is human resource, so you have the best people compared to anybody in the industry. So you're going to be using your people resources, your human resources as your competitive advantage, because all the plans that you make will be based on your people. If another organization has extensive, their strength is that they are very deeply covered in the market. Nook and corner of the market, they are able to have access to the customers. So that's going to be their strength. So if that is your strength, when you formulate your competitive strategy, it's going to be based on this particular strength of market coverage. So a company that has human resource as its strength will use human resource as its competitive advantage. A company that has market coverage and access to customers as its strength will use that particular strength as its competitive advantage. If a company has the latest sophisticated state-of-the-art technology compared to anybody else in the industry, so you boast and say, you know, we have the latest or the best technology compared to anybody in the industry, then you're going to be using that as your strength. So do you understand that? That's the reason why we do SWOT analysis. So you are able to identify your strengths and you're able to identify your weaknesses. What is your strength becomes your competitive advantage. So when you go into competition to fight with others for market share and more revenue, you're going to be using your competitive advantage. You're going to work on your strength. You're going to play on your strengths. Weaknesses, you try to see how to overcome it. You cannot ignore them, right? So you've got to overcome them. So you start taking measures, but you're not going to take that into your competition. You will never show your weak side to your competitors. You will always show your strong side to your competitors. Okay. And then in the external environment, in the pestle forces is where you start looking for opportunities. What opportunities do we have? What are the kind of threats that we have? And then you match your strength to the opportunity. So how can I use my competitive advantage to the opportunity that's there in the market right now? And then how will I make my strategic plan? So that's how organizations are going to formulate their goals and objectives and make strategic plans. Got it? So you're going to do that. The next thing that you'll do is, as I've already told you. So once your organization formulates a strategic plan, the HR department is going to base its human resource planning on the basis of the strategic plan. So when you want to decide what is going to be my HRP strategy, you in the HRP team will have to study and understand the strategic plan thoroughly. Only after you understand the strategic plan thoroughly can you prepare your HRP accordingly, because your HRP has to piggyback on the strategic plan of the organization. So when you look at the strategic plan and then you prepare your HRP, you will have three scenarios, three situations. So forecasting human resource requirements is what we need to do. We need to understand. So based on the strategic plan, do we require more people or do we require less people? Second situation is comparing the requirement and availability. How many people does the HRP require and how many people do we have right now? Right? How many are required and how many do we have right now? And the third, we will look at forecasting. So how many people would be required at a future period of time? Right? So how many people does the HRP say we need? And then we compare with the availability. Supply and demand, we're going to match. And then we're going to make that decision whether we would require more people. Right? So what do we do in those three scenarios? So we're going to look at what is the demand for labor and the supply of labor. If the HRP states we need about 1,800 employees as the workforce for all the jobs, and when we take a stock of the inventory, when we look at the number of employees that we have 1,800 in my organization. So that is where we say the demand is 1,800 employees and the supply is 1,800 employees. So we have enough number of people to do the jobs in the organization that is based on the strategic plan. So demand is equal to supply. So we have the right number of people in the organization to fill up those jobs. So we don't need to do anything for that matter. Second situation, right? The second situation is when we compare the demand for labor and the supply of labor. We need 1,800 jobs are there. So we need 1,800 people, right? But we are having 2,400 employees when we take stock of it. The requirement, the net requirement is 1,800 according to the HRP strategy. According to the HRP plan, we need just 1,800, but we have 2,400 employees. So we have close to around 600 excess staff, excess employees. So what is the plan? What do we do with the excess people? Like one of you rightly said, we will lay off. Layoff is one thing that we do. Or we will do restricted hiring. So what happens is we'll stop hiring. Or those who have been hired, those who've already been hired, shortlisted, and we've given them a future date of joining, we will inform them that the jobs that we had promised will not be given to them. So they will have to look out. Now they are released and they can look out for other jobs. We will do reduced hours. Reduced hours in sense work sharing will happen. So we will give them time until 3 months to look out for a job. So until 3 months, we will give them reduced hours. So they can come and work for only 6 hours. So there's going to be reduced pay. Or we will have early retirement. We call this as VRS in the public sector company. So we're going to open up early retirement. We'll say anybody, from 55 years to 60 years, if you are there, if you want to retire early, you can retire early. We will give you the benefits according to the number of years that you would have served in the organization. Or we will do layoff, or we will do downsizing. Downsizing is asking people to leave the organization because we just need 1,800. So a surplus of work situation will happen during a recession. Surplus of work situation will happen whenever there is a technological development or an advancement that is brought into the organization. Surplus of labor will happen when we have a situation of a merger and an acquisition. Surplus of labor will happen when the organization is going through a recession. Industry goes through a recession, so the organization is also going through a recession, right? Or when the organization has changed its plans. We have changed our business, we've dropped some customers, we've stopped doing certain businesses, we've closed some businesses. Automatically, we will have this situation, right? The third scenario that can happen, very often this is a scenario that we see, especially for a growing company. When a company is growing, right? If it's normal growth, like for example, annual growth, right? If it's annual growth or a growth that is taking place during the expansion phase of the business cycle. So that is a time when the organization is going completely full on trying to expand, increase its markets, manufacture new products, or increase its production. So that is when new jobs will be created. New jobs will be designed, new job analysis will be written automatically. The HRP requirement is to make sure that we need to hire more people for the jobs in the organization. So that is when a company goes through a shortage. So right away, we have 1,800 employees, but the requirement is 2,500. So according to the HRP forecast, we need 2,500 people to be available in January 2022. So we're doing a forecasting, we're doing an HRP forecasting in July 2021. So we say by January 2022, we need to increase our workforce strength from 1,800, it has to go to 2,500, right? So we need close to around 700 employees or 600 employees to be hired in the next few months. So that is how we go about. So when we need 600 employees to be filled up, filling up those positions in the next 5 to 6 months, so HRP will give this target to the recruiters, and that is when recruitment and selection will happen. So remember these three scenarios. HRP will give you these three scenarios once we forecast our plan and compare it with the strategic plan of the organization. Either demand is equal to supply, or supply is greater than demand, or supply is shorter than demand. So in these three situations, these are the decisions that a company is going to take or is going to make. Okay, so this is the HRP model. Let's look at, so here is where you will see a little more extensive way of looking at the model. So this is how you forecast a demand, like what we saw as strategic planning. The organization plans the strategy for the future. When the organization formulates a strategic plan, the human resource development also prepares a HRP plan alongside or after having understood and studied the strategic plan. So for that, you have to do your SWOT analysis. So that is what we're looking at here. This is your internal consideration. Internal consideration is looking into your internal environment to identify your strength and your weakness. You're studying technology, you're studying financial resources to find out, how strong are you in terms of money, or what is your organizational growth strategy? What is your management philosophy? What products and services do you have? What markets do you have? What is your market share, right? What are the kind of networks, or who are the kind of businesses with whom you are tied up, right? All of that is your internal consideration. So what a company basically does is it starts identifying strengths in each of its departments. We look at production and operations. So what's the strength? What are the things that what are the kind of strengths that your production and operations department can boast about? When you look at marketing, sales and marketing, what are the kind of strengths that your sales and marketing department can boast about? And what can the kind of strengths that your HR department can boast about, your R&D can boast about, or your IT infrastructure and technology department can boast about? All right. So when we start identifying strengths from every department, collectively it becomes the strength of the organization, and those strengths are what we're going to take to the competitive advantage. Right. So when we do that internal strength, we also are trying to scan the external environment to find out what are the political changes, the economic changes, the socio-cultural changes, the technological changes, the environmental changes, the legal changes. So all of that automatically will reflect in workforce changes. When there's a socio-cultural change, automatically customers' taste and preferences change. When there is a political change, when a new government comes to power, they're going to implement their policies. It can be a pro business or a pro corporate government or an anti-corporate government. Correct? So such kind of situations can happen. When we look at economic factors, we look at national income, we look at the policies, the monetary policy, the fiscal policy, the budgets that the government proposes, right? We look at income and expenditure aspects of the government, the infrastructure projects that the government is going to take up. We're going to study inflation, we're going to study population growth. So all of that is going to reflect, right? Or technological changes. So when today in India we talk about 5G, technology that is coming in. So what other technological developments is the country opening up with? So all of these are external. So when we study political, economic, socio-cultural, technological, and those related changes, it automatically will show in terms of workforce changes, mobility, government policy, unemployment, inflation, circulation of money, infrastructure development, technological advancement, climate change, right? All of that is going to be seen in these areas. So what we're going to be looking specifically here is to identify opportunities. What opportunities are we going to have, right? What opportunities can we see in all of these changes? So whichever organization is able to identify an opportunity and say, this is something that we have spotted, and we want to be the first set of people to be leveraging on that particular opportunity. So immediately you make a strategic plan, and then automatically the information goes to the HR department and they formulate the HRP strategy, right? So now you need to find out, so how do you forecast when HRP is going to forecast the demand for labor and the supply for labor? You need to do that forecasting. You need to know how many employees, how many jobs are going to be designed, and how many employees would be required at a future period of time. So when I gave you that hypothetical example saying that if my company wants to hire 2,500 employees in my organization by January 2022, so the HRP's forecasted estimate is by Jan 2022, we should be having 2,500 employees. Now, how did this company arrive, or how did this department arrive with this estimate? So those estimates are arrived when we use demand forecasting methods. We're looking for the demand for labor. So we can use a trend analysis, or we can do managerial estimates, or we can use a Delphi technique. Now, these are techniques that you've studied in economics when you're doing demand forecasting for goods and services, and based on which a company does. So very similar tools is what we are using. So when you used demand forecasting, it was to forecast the demand of customers wanting to buy products and services. But here we are forecasting using the same tools to identify the requirement that we have in terms of human resources for a future period of time. So that's how we do demand forecasting, and that will give us an estimate. That's how we arrive at 2,500. Now, how does my company know? So when I say my forecast is 2,500 employees, I also have to take stock, or I have to check the inventory of the number of employees who are there right now with me in my organization. And I have to see how many of these employees will be available in January 2022 to take up these jobs. So that is where we're going to do HR inventories, right? So we're going to take stock. We're going to do a head count of employees, so we know on the rolls how many employees are there. And then every department, how many employees are there. So we're going to do a HR inventory. Then we have a technique called the Markov analysis. Markov analysis is a supply technique, right? So where we're going to estimate the number of people that we are going to have. Third is we will do skill inventory. For each of those jobs to be filled, it's not just the people, but those people that you have in the organization must also have knowledge, skill, and ability to do those jobs. So you do skill inventories. So based on the skill sets that you have identified in the job analysis, you're going to find out how many of these employees are skilled enough in these areas. So you're going to do a skill inventory. Fourth, you will do replacement inventories, replacement charts. What are replacements? For every individual right now who's occupying a particular position, you have to find out who is going to be the next, next leader who will take up that position. So you have to identify a second rung leader. So there has to be a second rung leadership or a second rung managerial cadre that has to be created. So just in case this employee leaves, so who will be the next person to take up that job? So that is called a replacement chart. Like what happened with the government here in Karnataka. The moment the chief minister resigned, immediately the next day there was a replacement. But there were 4 to 5 nominees, who were identified to say that these will be the probable people who will replace the chief minister of Karnataka. So among those probable people, they identified one person who could replace. So this is a replacement chart. It's very important that you also always keep having an alternative, because what if suddenly this employee leaves or quits? Immediately you can have somebody to replace because you've already identified. And how do we keep people ready? Is by doing something called succession planning, where you are properly planning, grooming these employees, slowly preparing them for taking up the higher level jobs, right? So if you identify some bright employees in the organization, you slowly start grooming them, training them, shaping them, giving them more opportunities, giving them more platforms. Slowly they start coming up to take up those positions. And when time comes, when they have to replace a leader or a manager who quits the organization, so they will be taken up. Right. So these are techniques which we will be doing a little elaborately, when we continue. Okay. So please remember these 2 things. So we'll do an environmental scanning to understand the strategic plan of the organization, and then you formulate your HRP. And then when you formulate your HRP, you are going to use the demand forecasting techniques and supply forecasting techniques using any of these methods. And these methods will give you the numbers. And once you get those numbers, there are 3 scenarios. You have to balance demand and supply, right? So when you do the demand forecasting, you will get to know the number of people that we require at a future period of time for fulfilling those jobs. And then when you do your supply technique, you will get to understand how many people do you have right now with you, or right now at a time, right at the time when you would require to fill up those jobs. So that will give you those 3 scenarios. The first scenario is a very ideal scenario, that we have the number of people that we need, which is demand, and the number of people that we have, which is supply of labor, is equal. So we have right number, so we don't have to do anything. Or you may have a second scenario, but the number of people that we require will be much more or greater than the number of people that we have, right? Much more. So this is surplus. We have more people than the number that we require. That is where you have to take actions like layoff, termination, demotions, or retirement. Or we will have a situation where we are short. Demand for number of people is greater than supply, right? So that is when we need to start hiring people. So that is when we give that requirement to the recruitment team. And as what we discussed in the last topics, the recruitment team will go ahead and identify the right sources from where they can find those right candidates, and then prepare those candidates and invite them to apply for jobs in the organization. And that is how we go to fulfill and make sure that we have enough number of people at the time when the jobs are ready to kickstart. This is the HRP model. So let's look at some of these techniques. A very basic technique that we use in the organization is the trend analysis. So all of you are able to understand. This is a very simple rule of thumb technique. Now, how do we understand what is going to be the demand for the next 1 year or 2 years? So we're going to go to the historical data. So we're going to look at the growth of the organization and the number of employees that we have added year after year in the last 5 years. You can take the last 5 years data. What has been the growth rate of the organization and how many employees on an average have you added in the last 5 years? And based on that estimated projection, you can make an estimated projection for the next 3 years or 5 years and say approximately we will have these many employees we would require if the growth rate and the strategy remains more or less the same. You may add a percentage here and a percentage there in terms of the growth strategy, and accordingly you can add 1% more or 2% more and then make a rough estimate. Right, and this is an average. This is based on averages, and it's an estimate that we can base on numbers that you have if you have historical data. So this is all for existing organizations. Or for organizations that have been in business for a certain few years and they have some past data on the basis of which an estimate can be made. But if you're a new organization, if you're starting out now, or you just have started about 2 years ago, you can't depend on that data because that data is not a reliable data. Okay, because though you have grown, but it may not be helping you in any way to base and make an estimate. Right, so that's where we will use trend analysis. It's something like this. It's just a figure that we put in to project. So we look at the business factors. So how do we identify growth rate? Growth is in terms of sales. So if my organization in monetary units has made a sale of 2,935 2,935,000 in terms of sales. So in 2015 we did this. In 2016 it was 3,613. In 2017 it was 3,748. So we have grown. So in 2020 it's going to be 4,283, and in 2021 it's going to be 4,446. So this is the estimated sale. Right, it's a growth target. So for that growth target, we need to identify labor productivity. If 2,935 was the sales in 2014, then how many employees would we require? So that is 8.34 is the average that we require. So accordingly, we calculate and we get 352 employees. So like that, we make an estimate. So when it reaches 12.52, we will require 355 and so on. So that's how we make a projection on the basis of historical data, right? A trend can be done only when you have a data that is reliable. You should have a data set on which you can rely and make an estimate. And if the growth rate remains the same, the growth rate is going to be on an average very same. And if it's going to be very steady, then you can do that. But if it's an erratic growth rate, right? You've grown at 3%, then you grow at 6%, then you grow at 4%. So if it's very erratic, then you cannot take, because those averages are going to be at a bare minimum level where you will not be able to arrive at any sort of estimate as such. Another interesting method that we can use is called the management forecasts. All right. Who is the best judge when it comes to identifying the number of people that we require at a future period of time? You can always go to your managers and those who have the experience of having worked in these jobs and departments for many years. So supervisors, department managers, experts, all those people who know about the knowledge, they can make predictions, right? Based on their experience of having worked in the organization, based on the kind of jobs and the kind of challenges and responsibilities that they've taken up in the past, they can tell you. Approximately, we require these many. It could be based on opinions, it could be based on assumptions, it could be based on calculations, right? But more or less, it is something which is a reliable figure, which is going to be some number that you can always work with. So you have an idea and say, okay, we're looking at these many numbers, and then we can always taper it according to actual requirement. So that's management forecast. Here again, only if the business is kind of steady and everything is very familiar and similar, and there are no erratic changes or no immediate changes that are going to take place in the business and in the environment, then you can go ahead with that. If it's a very steady business environment, and your firm also is very steady when it comes to its growth, you can use this estimate. Then we use something called the Delphi technique. Okay, so Delphi technique is an estimate where we bring in the experts. And I told you, trend and management forecast. These two techniques can be used only when the data is reliable, only when the growth is predictable, only when your business is steady, only when your targets are more or less achievable. Okay, Delphi comes in when the business is very different, when the business environment is very volatile. Business environment is volatile, and your growth also is very erratic. You cannot make any decision on the basis of past data. So there's a lot of uh, factors that you need to consider. Multiple factors needs to be considered. That is when we bring in the Delphi. So Delphi is a technique where you bring in the experts. Experts in different fields are going to come and study the business, study the environment, study the industry, study the organization, and they're going to make an estimate. So they're going to make their estimate on the basis of what they think is the right number. And then accordingly, different experts will pull in their data and they give their opinions, and they will share their data. And then finally, they will look into each other's opinion and then arrive at a particular estimate. So that's a Delphi technique where we will have experts who represent different fields, who will come together, look at multiple angles and multiple perspectives, take different types of data to make an estimate, and then they will arrive at an estimate. So the estimate that the Delphi experts give you will be very more or less much more saner and much more rational to depend upon. Okay, so right now these are the different demand forecasting techniques that we have. So when we come back in the next class, we will look at the supply forecasting techniques, and then we will see which of these techniques can be very good, and identify what's the right way or the right technique that we can use to fulfill our HRP requirement. Okay, so any questions anybody would want to ask me anything?